The frame's back from powder coat, guys. We're going to be getting the steering stem bearings in the front end of this bike and getting the whole front end back together, along with redoing the front suspension. So when you buy your new bearings, guys, they'll come like this. You get your bearing itself, and you have this race that the bearing has to sit in, like so. Okay, and it's tapered, and we need to install these into the bike. Now we have a special tool that we're going to hammer it in with, but we don't want to just start beating it in. We want to try and warm this up. Now I've seen guys do it with a torch, and the issue with using a torch is this is a brand new painted frame. So we're going to use a heat gun to try and expand this a little bit, have this all set with a little bit of grease around it, and then we're going to hammer it in. There's a lip, and I'll show you guys where it needs to go. So what we're trying to do is just heat that up so that it expands, and we don't want to use a flame because we're going to hurt our paint job. We're going to take a little bit of our waterproof grease. I've been using this one for a while. It's just, it lasts a long time. Get yourself some grease. Then we just put a light coating in there. And then we're going to take the bearing, or the race, sorry, and put a little bit on it with our finger. Now, these gloves don't really fit me. They're a pain in the butt. But I got a cut on this hand. I'm trying to keep the grease out of the Band-Aid so it keeps holding up. We'll set it in there. We'll take our driver, place it on top, and simply drive it into the frame. You can hear that sound change because our race is set all the way down. And you can check it, make sure it is. If you need to give it another tap, go ahead, but she's all the way in there. So we've gone ahead and flipped our frame over, and we're going to repeat this process for the other side. And same deal, you get your package open, you get a brand new bearing and a brand new race. We're going to heat it and install the race. The key with this, guys, is you can see it's got a taper to it that slides in, and this side doesn't. So the taper needs to go out to accept the bearing. So the bearing slides in. Same thing, want to put a little grease, and you guys can see, I'll use the back side of the brush here. That lip is where we have to press it down to. So we're going to put a little bit of grease in there. I know it's kind of melting. That's okay. I'd rather have some in there than nothing. And then we'll take our race and get it greased up. Right? A little bit of grease just to help it slide in. It's warm, don't burn your hands, or it should be warm. And we'll get our driving tool and simply drive it in. And when I'm talking about being all the way down, guys, it's a matter of visually inspecting and feeling with your finger. You could use a pick and feel if there's a gap between the race you just installed and the ledge it needs to sit against. It needs to be inset so that the bearing goes up into there and makes a nice tight seal. So our next step is with our brand new bearing. We need to get grease down in behind this outer race. You can see there's no grease in it. So you gotta jam grease down in there. And the easiest way to do that is put a wad of grease in your hand and simply keep cupping it and it'll ooze out. So I'm gonna do that and show you guys. We'll take our waterproof grease, get a gob of it. I'm right-handed. If you're left-handed, do it the other way, whatever. I put it in the palm of my hand. This is how I've always been shown to do it, is just scooping it and pushing it into my hand. We've got a pile of grease, we scoop it back out. It's hard to film this and do it. But we're just simply packing it in. You can see it's starting to ooze out. It's like a cupping motion. Scoop, 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 scoop. Seen guys try and push it down the shaft because we have to install this one onto the steering stem. and guys are trying to push grease into this lip, and just scoop it in. Like, yeah, it's greasy when you put it together, and I know you probably have a nice powder coated thing if you're redoing a bike or anything like that, but grease is easier to clean up than it is to replace your bearing that you just put in. Anyway, let's get it on the steering stem. All right, so we've got our steering stem, we've got our bearing, and we got the seal. Don't forget the seal. So the seal has to go on first on your steering stem, all the way down. Make sure it's a good clean area. Take your time and clean your parts. Then we put our bearing on. It'll slide back the top, but the bottom is like a 1-to-1 clearance fit. And you want to, I have this cool tool, but a pipe would work the same. And then this special tool has a thing, because you don't want to hit the outer race with all the bearings. You want to hit the inside part and drive it down. This is a pretty handy tool. I did a bunch of them without it and just a pipe, but this one works, and it works for all sorts of different bikes. It comes with different colored connectors in case you need it. And then you simply drive it down. You hear the noise change. We're always at the bottom, I guess. Take it apart and take a look. So what we're looking for is to make sure it's sealed there on the bottom. We got our seal on, the bearings all the way down, and that'll be perfect. And we're gonna do the same thing to the top bearing so that we can get this all installed. Now, I make a heck of a mess every time I do these. They make a cool tool, actually. There's a tool, so if you feel like I don't have the tool, but I have seen it. And what you do is you fill the tool with grease, you put your bearing on it, you push down, and it shoves grease all into every one of these bearings. It's like it's good for wheel bearings and stuff like that on trailers. I've seen it. Now I've only ever done the 2 all the time. So I guess if you had a trailer with like 3 axles, that's 6 wheels to do. That's a lot of bearings. So that tool would probably come in handy. Plus, you probably wouldn't make one hell of a mess like this. But this works. And don't be afraid to use extra grease. Worst case, it's going to be down in there helping the life of the bike. The next guy and the next 3 guys that own this bike that never do their proper maintenance will be happy you did. Because that's usually what happens. Anybody who's restored bikes knows that maintenance doesn't get done. We're just going to set that on a lid, and I'm going to ditch these horrible gloves because I can't touch anything. So all it is now is a matter of sliding this up in there, and then putting our other bearing in that's covered in grease. Try and slide it down. Then there's a seal. So the seal, you can see it's got like a little bowl to it. Hopefully you guys can see. And the seal, we need to put the bowl side down to hold all that grease in. Just like that. Man, I got a heck of a mess going on. Hopefully we can clean it off, all that white. Then there's this fancy nut that holds it all together. We'll snug that up once we get the rest of it set. Perfect. Now it's a matter of installing the top. Once you have your seal and bearing in and your collar there, slide the top on. Perfect. And there's a washer. And then the nut goes on. Get the nut to drop into the threads properly, fine threads. We're not going to torque any of this down just yet. We want the front suspension in to kind of help us align it. But there is torque settings. But we'll get to that. But that's basically changing your steering stem bearings. They're pretty simple. Well, we've got the build here in this position. We're going to install the rubber clamps or the rubber mounts that help with the gas tank mount. They go on simply like that. And how I clean these guys is I soap and water them, scrub them right up, and then I'm gonna be honest, I use SC1 and really clean them so they look brand new. That's what SC1 does. Now I've seen that new Tusk stuff, but they won't ship it to me up here in Canada. So if you guys can get a chance to try that Tusk brand stuff, it's like $5 a can. I'd love to know how that stuff works. All right, when it comes to this 93 suspension, our first step's gonna be breaking this cap free and draining out the fluid that's in there. Let's see if I can do this without putting it in the clamp. No. We're gonna break this free. Hopefully our soft jaws will hold it. Yeah, they will. This is really easy to just loosen when they're still in the clamps on the bikes, guys. If you're just doing your fork seals or rebuilding your shock. I'm gonna actually pull it out of the vise so that I can do it on the floor. There. This cap is under spring tension, but this is not. So now we should be able to dump this into our bucket. There's not much in there, and it is black. Now, this is the biggest pain in the ass part, is you've got to kind of hold this up and pull the spring down and slide a 17 mil wrench on here so you can loosen the cap off so you can start taking it all apart. This has to come off in order to change the fork seals. I don't know a better way to do it. There we go. We've got our wrench on there. Hopefully we can do it by hand. If not, we will use the impact. No. Use our impact. There we go. Do not put it back together with the impact. That's bad. We'll push down and pull our wrench out. And remove our spring. So now that we have it, the cap off, we can tilt it. There's probably a little oil left in it. Remove the main shaft. We're going to take out the inner rod. Behind that, there's another couple little pieces, like a spring that goes on another piece. We're going to wipe this off so we don't get stuff everywhere. Put it over here. All right. Now that we've got all the rest of the oil out of it, I'll try and show you guys what I was talking about. There's a little, I'll show you better on the camera. There's a little piece in there, like a little valve. It looks like this. It goes in like that with the spring on it. It goes down inside there. We need to set that off to the side. Try and wipe up some of this mess. We're going to go ahead and remove the dust seal. Just a matter of a flat screwdriver and pushing it down. Now inside of here there's a little clip. So hopefully you guys can see the little clip. You need to remove that clip. Get it down. Now we should be able to pop it apart. Once you get your dust seal and the clip out of there, it really is just a matter of force ramming this apart. But you gotta watch out, you can get oil all over the place. Just like that. And our next step is gonna be getting off the bushings. There's two bushings, here and here. I like to just barely get my pick under there and get it over the edge, just barely. And then you can start kind of sliding it off by hand, just like that. Yeah. Perfect. Set that in our pile. The next one comes off easy. Then there's a washer. And then the old seal that's leaking. So that seal's no good, these red ones. And we'll take off these other two parts, the outer seal and the ring. We'll go ahead and give this a good clean, and we're going to inspect it for any major dings. And if we have to, maybe some steel wool, and we'll try and buff out any little marks. If they're really, really bad, you may have to get them recoated. But that's pretty expensive. You might be better off looking at a donor bike at that point. All right, when it comes to the reassembly, we have a neat little tool from Motion Pro. They make these caps. The whole kit is pretty cheap. You slide it over so that your seals don't get damaged when you're installing them. We'll slide our dust seal on. Then we'll slide on our ring that clips it in. We'll slide on our new seal, and always, guys, the bottom of the seal goes down. That way dirt's not getting up inside the bike. We'll slide our dust seal on. Next, our O-ring. Nope, we can take this off now. It's only to protect the seals. Next, we install the O-ring, like I said. Then we can go ahead and put on our retainers back on. The outside coating on this one is wore pretty good. We're going to end up replacing them. The kit's pretty cheap. You just get new ones, and then the outside coating's good. The inside on this one's brand new, but the one side wears on each one. The outside of this one and the inside of the other. We got the inner bushing goes on. It slides on, no problem. The outer bushing, we've got some oil on it, and we're going to put it on. It just slides in, and it'll actually clip in that spot, and that's what we want. Now it's a matter of putting the other tube back on and driving this in to get it to seal properly. I'll show you guys how we're going to do it. So we've got our inner bushing and the O-ring going in, then the seal. The dust seal, the outer cover, and the other part gets to stay down here for now. So we're going to push that seal in as far as we can by hand. It's pretty good there. Now, this is a Motion Pro seal driver. And the problem is that this one's too big. It's for a 46 and 47. But we're still going to be able to use it. What we've done is, in this situation, I wish I had the right seal driver, but I do not have a seal driver. I don't do a lot of these older bikes with the 42 mil or 43 mil forks, I guess is what they are. So I've taken the seal, this seal that comes out, and I've cut it in half with a hacksaw, okay? And you can put that seal on here, on top of your new seal, so you're not destroying your new seal with one that doesn't fit, okay? And then we're gonna ram that in. We're gonna put it on the ground and really jam it in there because we don't have the proper tool. Trust me, I recommend you get the proper tool. But if you're in a pinch, I've done this before and we're doing it now. So you'll get to see if it works or not. All right, so what we've got is our wrong size seal driver. You need something to jam that seal in. And I've already done it, but the camera didn't record. So I'm gonna try and show you again. I've put the old seal on top. And then I've taken the seal driver and drove the old seal in because I can't fit my seal driver inside of this column. But that seal will. So I've jammed it in. Now that the old seal is flush and the other seal is driven all the way down. So now it's a matter of getting our seal driver off. I don't recommend this, guys. I recommend, like, this is kind of, I'm in a pinch and I don't want to order the proper tool because I'm only going to do it once. If you own this bike and you're going to keep it for a long time, seals are something that's normal. And you should buy the proper seal driver if you're going to do the work. Or if you plan on doing a lot of bikes, you should have the proper seal driver. Now we take our little pick though, and on the seal that we've cut in half, we're just going to grab it. If I don't stick my head in front of the camera, we're going to grab the seal. I can't really see it with these. We're just going to pop it out. Pop the one half out. We'll pop the other half out, nice and easy. And then we can install the little clip. So it's definitely drove back far enough. I can see the ring that the clip needs to sit in. So we'll just simply pinch one side, put it in, pinch the other, get it into the lip, take our little flat screwdriver and just push it back into the, till it clicks. Click, click. Perfect. So now that seal, that little ring we put in, holds the suspension together. Now we'll go ahead and install the dust seal. We should be able to just pinch it in. Sometimes it's a brand new seal. We'll put a little bit of grease on the outside of the dust seal. It's what's basically going to clean all the dirt to try and prevent most of the dirt from getting up inside the pocket. A little more grease here. Not against using grease. Just makes it easier on me when I push this up in, and after you ride the bike, you should pull your dust seals and clean them. There's a bunch of companies now making all sorts of different things that can go up inside and scrape out any dirt that might have got in there. Really extends the life of your seals. So now it's basically a reverse of what we did to take it apart. Make sure our 17 mil thing is snug on there. It's kind of a pain because I don't have a wrench that small. I had to shave this one in order to get it to work. But our little plunger with the spring goes down, spring, then the plunger slides onto it. Then we'll slide it down the tube. Then our long tube goes down to hold it in place. Then our spring, and your spring's tapered, it only goes on one way. And we need to keep this inside out of the inside of the shock, pull this down and lock it in place with this 17 mil wrench. Something like that. Perfect. Now, we can take our cap, make sure you go over the O-rings, check them, make sure they're in good shape. These ones are in really good shape. I think somebody might have done the shocks before, but just the seals, the dust caps and seals were no good. So now we're gonna put this on, holding the nut, get a 30 mil socket and tighten it up. Tighten them against each other. That's really good. Perfect. So we got our old seal and our shock is standing up in the vise. We're going to use our old seal as a spacer. Push it down to there. We're going to start filling this up. It needs 550 milliliters for a 93. I've looked it up. So that is the area we want to be in. That's what we put in the other shock, and that's what we're going to put in this one. So we've just got our 5-weight oil. We buy this in bulk off of our suspension guy. If you have a suspension guy, he'll probably sell you the oil. It's probably the same oil you have in your shocks if you have a suspension guy. We're going to fill it up with half, 250 mil. We're going to dump it in and try and bleed some of the air out. You need to take the air screw out in order to bleed it on this shock. So 250 cc's, same as 250 milliliters. Perfect. Nice and pink compared to the dirty gray sludge that came out of it. Your fork oil, you need to change it. What we're doing now, guys, we're taking out the air screw on the top. Check my other videos. It should be a normal maintenance thing, pulling the air screw out so you can bleed the air out of your forks. And then what we're going to do, from what I understand on this style shock, this is the first ones I've ever done like this, so that's why I don't have the tools. So we want to compress it and let it come back up. We want to hold it over with our hand. I can hear it bubbling. We want to do that a few times until it becomes consistent, that there's no like air pocket. And if any of you guys are suspension guys out there and have any better tips of doing these older shocks, let me know, because like I said, I've never done them. So I'm reading along with the book here, trying to figure out how to do it. That's pretty similar to some of the other stuff I've worked on, but different at the same time. The newer style ones I like a lot better. Now, I haven't really figured out the best way to do this, but it's just a matter of getting our, with the aluminum frames, I can clamp them down a little easier. With these steel frames, it'll be a little tricky, I think. Oh. I'm going to try and wedge a screwdriver in there just to give us a little more. There we go. Perfect. All right. We're on the other side. We'll try and get this one in. Hopefully it goes easier. Yeah. Putting your forks in shouldn't be a struggle. It should go pretty smooth. We're just going to tap on the Yeah, that's the problem, is that it's like they've been over tightened before. That's eyeball close. Not close enough, but good enough for what we're doing right now. Well, guys, that's it for the steering stem bearing and fork seal video. Now, I've never done older shocks like this. I've never taken them apart. So it was different. I had to read the book and understand what was going on, and that's why it's good to have a manual to work from in case you do run into like, what is this and what does it do? I'm by no means a suspension guy. I get my personal bikes done, the weight set for me, by a suspension guy, so that way the bike just works perfect for me. I can do fork seals, I can change springs, sure, but I don't know any of the stuff on how to figure out what the best settings are for a guy in your riding style. That's what the experts do. So if you're looking for that, go see the experts. But if you just want to change your fork seals because the experts already did your bike, that's how we can show you how to do that. Anyway, leave a comment down below, guys. I'd love to know what you guys think, or if there's anything you guys use, or if you've seen that little trick with an old seal to drive your new seal in if you're in a pinch. Let me know. But anyway, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.